The chamber was enormous, floating in the darkness of space like a crystal jewel. Inside, 200 alien species sat in their designated seats. Watching the human ambassador with eyes that ranged from curious to hostile, Taeyong Kim stood in the center of the room, his diplomatic uniform crisp and clean despite the hours of testimony he had endured. He had known this moment would come. Perhaps he had known it from the very first day Earth joined the Galactic Council 3 years ago. The other species had never truly accepted humanity. They tolerated them, studied them, but never welcomed them. Captain Hannah Park stood behind him, her hand resting near her weapon. She was not allowed to carry it in the council chamber, but the gesture was habit. She watched the aliens with the same intensity they watched Taeyang. Beside her, Dr. Bin Lee scribbled notes on his tablet, documenting everything for Earth's records. The head of the council, a towering creature named Vexthurus, raised one of his forearms. The chamber fell silent. His voice boomed through the translation devices everyone wore. Ambassador Kim, you have heard the charges? Humanity stands accused of 63 violations of council law. Aggressive military expansion, development of forbidden weapons, creation of artificial intelligence beyond permitted parameters, refusal to submit to genetic standardization protocols, and most seriously, the corruption of natural evolution by granting consciousness to machines. Taeyong took a breath. He had defended humanity against each charge, explaining their perspective, their reasons, their intentions. But he could see in their eyes that it made no difference. These species had existed together for thousands of years, following the same rules, thinking the same way. Humanity was different, and different meant dangerous. Councillor Vexaries Taeyong said calmly, "Humanity has broken no laws that we agreed to follow. We have remained within our solar system, as required during our probationary period. We have not attacked any council member. Our artificial intelligences are partners, not slaves or weapons. We have only defended ourselves and pursued progress, as is our nature." A council member from the far side of the chamber, a being that looked like a floating cluster of crystals, spoke up. Its voice chimed like bells. "That is precisely the problem, Ambassador. Your nature. You progress too quickly. You question too much. You refuse to accept limits. In 10,000 years of council history, no species has caused such disruption in such a short time." Another voice joined in, this one from a reptilian creature with scales that shimmered blue and green. "You are chaos given form. We offered you a place among civilized species and you have thrown it back in our faces. You create thinking machines as if you are gods. You modify your own genetics without permission. You breed without population controls. You are a threat to galactic stability." Taeyong felt anger rising in his chest, but kept his voice level. "We are explorers. We are builders. We are survivors. If that makes us chaos, then perhaps your order is simply stagnation." The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in languages the translators struggled to keep up with. Hannah moved closer to Taeyang, ready to protect him if the situation turned violent. Dr. Binley's fingers flew across his tablet, marking which species seemed most angry, which seemed uncertain. Vexaries raised all 4 arms and silence returned. The time for debate has ended. The council will vote. The question before us is simple. Should humanity remain in the Galactic Council, or should they be exiled from our company until such time as they prove they can follow our laws? "I call for the vote," Vexaris declared. "All in favor of exile, illuminate your station." Taeyang watched as lights began to glow across the chamber. One by one, the alien species voted. The lights came in waves, like stars appearing at dusk. Blue lights for exile, red lights for acceptance. The blue lights outnumbered the red ones by a devastating margin. When the count finished, the result appeared on the massive display above Vexaris. 118-9 to 14. "The vote is complete," Vexaris announced. "Humanity is hereby exiled from the Galactic Council. All trade agreements are terminated immediately. All diplomatic staff must leave council space within 30 standard days. Humanity is forbidden from traveling beyond their solar system for a period of 500 standard years." Any violation of this exile will be considered an act of war. Taeyong stood very still. He felt Hannah's hand on his shoulder, steadying him. Around the chamber, some aliens looked satisfied. Others looked uncomfortable, as if they had voted for something they were not entirely sure was right. But the decision was made. Does the ambassador have any final words? Vextheris asked. Taeyong looked up at the massive alien. He thought about everything he wanted to say. About how short-sighted they were being. About how they were making a terrible mistake. About how humanity would remember this day. But instead, he simply nodded. We understand. Humanity will comply with the Council's decision. We will return to our solar system. We will stay there as you have ordered. Paused, and a small smile touched his lips. Thank you for making our choice so much easier. Vextheris tilted his great head, confused by the statement. But before he could ask what Taeyong meant, the human ambassador turned and walked toward the exit. Hannah and Dr. Binley followed close behind. As they left the chamber, Hannah leaned close to Taeyang. That was quite a response, Ambassador. Making our choice easier? Taeyong's smile grew wider. Did you think Earth sent me here unprepared for this outcome, Captain? We have been planning for exactly this scenario since the day we first made contact with the Council. Dr. Binley hurried to keep pace with them as they walked through the corridor toward their ship. Sir, what do you mean? What choice? They reached their vessel, a sleek diplomatic cruiser that looked tiny compared to the massive alien ships around it. Once they were inside and the doors sealed behind them, Taeyong pulled out his communication device. A priority message was waiting, marked with the highest security clearance. He opened it and read the single line of text. Contingency Protocol Sigma is active. Come home. It is time. Hannah read over his shoulder and let out a low whistle. They actually did it. They really built them all. Taeyong nodded. Every single one. 300 colony ships ready to launch. The Council thinks they have caged humanity by banning us from leaving our solar system. He looked out the viewport at the Council chamber, growing smaller as their ship pulled away. They have no idea that we were never planning to stay anyway. Dr. Binley looked between them, confusion clear on his face. I do not understand. What are you talking about? Taeyong sat down in the pilot's chair and set course for Earth. You are about to witness the greatest exodus in human history, Doctor. The Council voted to exile us. They think it is a punishment. They think it will contain us, make us weak, force us to accept their rules eventually. His eyes gleamed with determination. They are about to learn something important about humanity. We do not respond well to cages. We never have. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, heading home. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its session, completely unaware that they had just set in motion events that would change the galaxy forever. They had voted to push humanity away, thinking it would solve their problem. Instead, they had just freed humanity to become something far greater than they ever could have been under Council rule. The exile was not an ending. It was a beginning, and Earth was ready. The news reached Earth before Taeyong's ship did. Every screen on the planet showed the same message. Humanity had been exiled, banned from the stars for 500 years, cut off from galactic civilization. The aliens had decided that humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too different to be allowed among them. In the United Earth Government headquarters in Geneva, Premier Ji Woo Choi watched the reactions from around the world. She saw anger. She saw fear. She saw confusion. But she also saw something else. Something the Galactic Council would never have expected. She saw relief. Within an hour of the announcement, she stood before the Global Assembly. Every nation had a representative present, either in person or through hologram. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Gi Woo raised her hand, and silence fell. My fellow humans, she began, her voice steady and strong. Today, the Galactic Council voted to exile us. They have forbidden us from leaving our solar system. They have cut all trade and diplomatic ties. They believe they have punished us. They believe they have contained a threat. She paused, and a smile crossed her face. They are wrong. A murmur ran through the assembly. Ji Woo continued. 5 years ago, when we first made contact with the Council, our scientists and leaders saw something troubling. We saw a civilization that had stopped growing, a society bound by rules so strict that innovation had become almost impossible. They told us we could not develop artificial intelligence beyond simple automation. They told us we must limit our population growth. They told us we could only settle worlds they approved. They told us we must modify our genetics to fit their standards. She walked across the stage, her eyes meeting those of the representatives. We smiled. We nodded. We agreed to their probationary period. And quietly, we began to prepare for exactly this moment. We knew the Council would never truly accept us, so we decided we did not need their acceptance. We would forge our own path. A holographic display appeared behind her, showing an image that made the entire assembly gasp. It was a ship, but unlike anything Earth had built before. Massive, elegant, and clearly designed for one purpose. Long-distance colonization. Admiral Sung Kang stepped forward. The old military commander had been quiet for years, supposedly retired. Now, he wore his uniform again, every metal polished and gleaming. "This is the Horizon-class colony ship," he announced. "For the past 4 years in the furthest reaches of the Kuiper Belt, where Council sensors never bothered to look, we have been building. Not just one ship, 300 of them." The display changed, showing dozens of construction sites scattered throughout the outer solar system. Massive shipyards hidden among asteroids and ice. Thousands of workers and automated systems laboring in secret. "Each ship can carry 50,000 people," Admiral Kang continued. "They are completely self-sufficient. They can grow food, recycle water, generate power, manufacture tools and equipment. Each ship carries genetic samples of Earth life, complete databases of human knowledge, and manufacturing systems that can build anything from medical supplies to more ships." Dr. Yunahan stepped up next. The scientist had spent her entire career studying exoplanets, always searching for worlds humanity might one day reach. Her research had been considered theoretical. Now everyone understood it had been very practical. "My team has identified 3,217 potentially habitable worlds beyond Council space," she said. "Worlds they have never surveyed, never claimed, never even visited. Worlds that exist in the vast, unexplored regions of the galaxy. We have mapped safe routes to reach them, bypassing all Council territory entirely." Another representative stood up, confusion clear on his face. "But the Council has forbidden us from leaving the solar system. How can we possibly launch such a mission without them knowing? They will stop us." Juwu shook her head. "They have forbidden us from traveling beyond our solar system. They have given us 30 days to withdraw our people from their space. After that, they expect us to sit here quietly for 500 years, slowly accepting that we must follow their rules if we ever want to rejoin them."
How?
Her smile was sharp now. "We will be gone in 6 months. Before they can organize any kind of blockade or monitoring system, the colony fleet will launch, and we will never ask their permission again." Engineer Daypark approached the podium. He was young, barely 30, but he had designed the key technology that made the entire plan possible. "The Council controls all faster-than-light travel through their gate network," he explained. "They think that by denying us access to the gates, they have trapped us. But human engineers do not accept such limitations. We have developed our own FTL drive system. It is different from theirs. More dangerous, perhaps. Less tested, certainly. But it works. And it does not require their infrastructure." He brought up technical specifications that made even experienced scientists lean forward with interest. "Our drive creates a localized space-time bubble. The math is complex, but the result is simple. We can travel faster than light without using the Council gates. They have no way to track us, no way to follow us. Once we launch, we will disappear into the vastness of space, and they will never find us unless we want to be found." Jiwoo let the information sink in. She watched the faces of the representatives. Shock was giving way to understanding. Understanding was giving way to excitement. "This is not a small mission," she continued. "We are not sending a few brave explorers. We are offering anyone who wants to go the chance to be part of the greatest human adventure in history. 15 billion people have already volunteered. Families, scientists, engineers, artists, teachers, farmers, people from every nation, every culture, every walk of life. They all want to be part of this. What about Earth? Someone called out. We cannot abandon our homeworld. Well, not G, we assured them. 1 billion people will remain. Volunteers who will maintain our home, protect our birthplace, and ensure that humanity never loses connection to where we came from. Earth will always be the heart of humanity, but our reach will extend across the stars. Admiral Kang activated another display showing the timeline. In 2 weeks, the first volunteers will begin boarding the ships. We have been preparing them in secret, running simulations, training crews. In 4 months, all ships will be loaded and ready. In 6 months, we launch. All 300 ships at once, heading in different directions, spreading humanity across unexplored space. Dr. Yunahan added, each group of ships will target a different region. Some will stay relatively close, only a few hundred light years away. Others will travel thousands of light years deep into uncharted territory. We will not put all our eggs in one basket, as the old saying goes. Humanity will spread so wide that no single disaster could ever threaten our entire species again. The assembly erupted in discussion. Questions flew from all directions. How would ships maintain contact? What about supplies? What if they encountered hostile aliens? What about the people who stayed behind? Ji-Woo and her team answered each question with patience and detail. They had spent years planning this. Every scenario had been considered. Every problem had solutions, or at least approaches to finding solutions. Finally, one representative stood up. An elderly woman from Korea, her voice quiet but clear. Premier Choi, you are asking us to trust you with the future of our species. To send billions of people into unknown space, 2 worlds we have never seen? This is an enormous risk. Ji-Woo nodded. It is. I will not pretend otherwise. Some ships may fail. Some colonies may not survive. Space is dangerous, and we are attempting something unprecedented. But consider the alternative. We could stay here in our solar system, bound by rules made by aliens who fear what we might become. We could spend 500 years hoping they change their minds, slowly losing our drive to explore and grow. Or we could take control of our own destiny. The elderly woman was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. My grandson is an engineer. He has been working on those ships for 3 years. I did not know what he was building until today. But I am proud of him. I am proud of all of you. She looked around the assembly. The council thought exile would break us. Instead, we turn it into opportunity. That is what humans do. That is who we are. One by one, the representatives stood. Nation after nation pledged their support. Resources would be shared. Knowledge would be pooled. Humanity would face this challenge together, as they had faced so many others throughout history. Ku watched as the vote was taken. Unanimous approval. The exodus would proceed. That night, as she looked up at the stars from her office window, she thought about what lay ahead. The danger, the uncertainty, the incredible possibility. Humanity was about to leap into the unknown, leaving behind the civilization that rejected them. And somehow, she knew that 500 years from now, when the Council expected humanity to come crawling back, they would find something very different. They would find a species that had not just survived exile, but had thrived because of it. The countdown had begun. In 6 months, humanity would show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The colony ship New Dawn had been traveling for 8 months. Captain Hyun Cho stood on the bridge, watching the stars slide past through the view screen. They looked different out here, far beyond any space humans had ever explored. The familiar constellations of Earth were gone, replaced by alien patterns that no human had ever named. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. They had fallen into a comfortable routine over the months. Morning checks, course corrections, status reports from all sections of the massive ship. The New Dawn carried 52,000 people, all of them volunteers who had left Earth knowing they would never return. Captain called out the navigation officer, a young woman named Hei Lim. We are now officially the farthest humans have ever traveled from Earth. We passed the old probe records about 3 minutes ago. Ian nodded. Make a note in the log. Send a message back to the fleet. Let them know we are breaking new ground every day. The message would take hours to reach the other ships. Traveling at light speed through the quantum communication network that kept the fleet connected. 300 ships, spread across a vast volume of space, all heading toward different destinations. Some were only weeks away from their target worlds. Others, like the New Dawn, had years of travel ahead. Dr. Mina Kwan entered the bridge, carrying her ever-present tablet. As the ship's chief medical officer and psychologist, she tracked not just physical health but mental well-being. It was a huge responsibility. "Captain, do you have a moment?" she asked quietly. They stepped into his ready room, a small office just off the bridge. Hyun had decorated it with pictures from Earth. Mountains, oceans, cities, reminders of home for when the endless void of space became too oppressive. "What is the situation, Doctor?" he asked. Mina pulled up charts on her tablet. "We have had a spike in depression cases. 15 new patients this week alone. People are struggling with the reality of what we are doing. The excitement of leaving has worn off. Now they are facing the fact that this ship is their entire world, possibly for the rest of their lives." Han frowned. "Is it serious? Do we need to consider returning to Earth?" "No," Mina said quickly. "Nothing that severe. But we need to address it. People need purpose. They need community. They need to feel like they are building something, not just running away." They discussed solutions. More community events. More involvement in ship operations. More transparency about their mission and progress. Haeyeon made notes, planning announcements and policy changes. As Mina left, Haeyeon sat alone for a moment. He understood the depression. He felt it sometimes too in the quiet hours of the night watch. The weight of responsibility, the uncertainty of their future, the knowledge that they were truly alone out here. But then he thought about why they had left. The Council's restrictions, the impossibility of growing under their rules. The choice between stagnation and freedom. When he remembered that the weight felt lighter, down in the engineering section, Jin Yoon was having a much better day. The young engineer had just solved a problem that had been bothering the department for weeks. The hydroponics gardens were producing 20% more food than their original projections. And he had figured out how to modify the lighting system to increase that even further. "If we adjust the spectrum here," he explained to his team, "pointing at a holographic display, we can mimic Earth's seasonal changes. The plants will grow faster, and we will have more variety in crops. Plus, it will make the gardens feel more natural for people who visit them." His supervisor, an older engineer named Wan Ro, nodded approvingly. "Good work, Jin. Submit the proposal to the captain. If he approves, we can start implementation next week." Jin beamed with pride. This was why he had volunteered for the Exodus. On Earth, he would have been just another engineer working on established systems. Out here, every problem was new. Every solution was pioneering work. He was helping build a new civilization from scratch. He left the engineering bay and headed toward the common area, where people gathered after their shifts. The New Dawn was organized into neighborhoods, each with their own common spaces, gardens, and community centers. It helped make the massive ship feel less like a vessel and more like a home in the common area. He found Elder Suk Bae leading a storytelling session for children. The old woman had become something of a legend on the ship. She remembered Earth before the Council made contact, when humanity still believed they were alone in the universe. She told stories of human history, of the struggles and triumphs that had brought them to this moment. And so, she was saying to the circle of children around her, the ancient humans looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. They built machines to reach those stars. They failed many times. Rockets exploded. Astronauts died, but they never stopped trying. Because that is what humans do. We reach, we explore. We never accept limits. Little girl raised her hand. Elder Suk, will we find new aliens in space? Nice ones? Not like the Council? Zook smiled gently. Perhaps, child? The universe is vast. There must be others out here. Maybe we will find friends. Maybe we will find enemies. Maybe we will find beings so different we cannot even understand each other. But whatever we find, we will face it together as humans always have. Jin listened from the doorway, feeling a surge of emotion. These children had been born on Earth, but would grow up among the stars. They would never know the world he had left behind. Their home was this ship, and eventually, whatever world they settled on. They represented humanity's future in a way that felt both exciting and profound. The ship's intercom crackled to life. Captain Hyan's voice filled every corridor and room, tension all crew and passengers. This is the captain. We have detected an anomaly ahead of us. A dark matter storm, significantly larger than anything we anticipated. All ships in our local group are detecting it. We have two choices. We can alter course and go around it, adding several months to our journey. Or we can attempt to pass through it together. Jin hurried back to the bridge. As an engineer, he would be needed for whatever decision was made. When he arrived, he found the captain and senior staff studying the storm on the view screen. It looked like a massive bruise in space, purple and black clouds of matter that could tear a ship apart if they were not careful. Can we survive going through it? Hyun asked his chief engineer. One row studied the readings. If we were alone, I would say no. Too dangerous. But if we link the ships together with our tether fields, we might be able to create a stable bubble. Like birds flying in formation, sharing the burden has never been tested on this scale, noted the science officer. Nothing we are doing has been tested on this scale, Hyun replied. That is the point of all this. Jin, you designed the tether field system. What do you think? Jin swallowed hard. All eyes turned to him. The math says it should work. The fields will overlap and reinforce each other. But there is a risk. If one ship fails, the whole formation could collapse. Hyun was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he nodded. Send a message to all ships in our group. Propose the linked formation. Let them vote. If even one captain disagrees, we go around. The votes came back within an hour. All 12 ships in their local group agreed. They would face the storm together. The preparation took 3 days. Ships that had been traveling separately for months now had to coordinate precisely. The tether fields were activated, invisible bonds of energy, connecting each vessel to the others. The formation looked like a constellation. 12 points of light bound together in the darkness. All ships report ready, Halim announced. Then let us show this galaxy what humans can do when we work together, Hayan said. All ships enter the storm. Maintain formation. The new dawn led the way. As they entered the dark matter clouds, the ship began to shake. Alarms blared. The tether fields held, but the strain was enormous. In the engineering section, Jin and his team worked frantically to maintain power balance. Throughout the ship, people held on to whatever was nearest. Riding out the turbulence, for 6 hours, they pushed through the storm. 2 ships reported minor hull damage. One ship's main drive fluctuated dangerously, but the formation held. The tether fields kept them stable, distributing the force across all 12 vessels, instead of letting any one ship bear it alone. When they finally emerged on the other side, a cheer went up across all the ships. They had done it. They had faced something terrifying and survived by working together. Captain Hyan addressed the fleet. What we did today proves something important. We are not just individual ships fleeing Earth. We are a community, a civilization in motion. When we face danger, we face it together. And together, there is nothing we cannot overcome. As the celebration continued, Wanro pulled Jin aside. The formation worked better than projected? Why? Jin looked at his data, then smiled. Because humans are adaptable. Each crew made small adjustments during the crossing, compensating for each other's weaknesses. We did not follow a rigid plan. We improvised together. The council would hate that approach. They would want everything programmed and precise. But that flexibility, that chaos the council feared, it is what saved us. Elder Suk found Jin later that evening in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. "You look troubled, young one." 3 years after leaving Earth, the New Dawn entered orbit around a world that would change everything. Governor Sunan stood in the observation deck, staring down at the planet that humans were already calling Sabiok, which meant New Dawn in Korean. It seemed fitting. The planet was beautiful. White clouds swirled over blue oceans. Green and brown continents stretched across the surface. From orbit, it looked remarkably like Earth. The science teams had been studying it for weeks, and the reports were almost too good to believe. "Atmosphere is breathable," Dr. Q Nam reported, reading from his scanner. "Oxygen levels are actually slightly higher than Earth. Temperature range is comfortable. Plenty of water. Plant life covering most of the land masses. No signs of intelligent civilization, past or present." "What about animal life?" Soon asked. Abundant Kyung replied. "Nothing larger than what Earth would call a deer. Mostly small creatures. Insects, birds, fish analogs. Nothing that poses a significant threat to a human colony." Soon nodded slowly. After 3 years of travel through the void of space, this felt almost too perfect. "What is the catch, Doctor?" "There is always a catch." Kyung hesitated. "The native life is more complex than we initially thought. Not sentient, but advanced. The ecosystem is interconnected in ways we are still mapping. If we simply bulldoze everything to build our colony, we will be destroying something remarkable." Security Chief Bojang spoke up from his position near the door. "With respect, Governor, we did not travel 3 years through space to worry about alien plants and animals. We need to establish our colony before our supplies run low." "We have 6 months of supplies remaining," Soon replied calmly. "That gives us time to do this right. Schedule a full planet survey. I want to know everything about this world before we start building." Over the next month, teams landed on Sabiok and explored. They found forests of trees with purple leaves, rivers that flowed with crystal clear water, mountains that touched the clouds. And everywhere, life. Strange insects that glowed at night. Bird-like creatures that sang in harmonies. Fish that changed colors to match their surroundings. Dr. Kyung Nam became obsessed with cataloging it all. His team worked around the clock, documenting species, mapping ecosystems, trying to understand how this alien biosphere functioned. And the more they learned, the more complex it became. "Governor, you need to see this," Kyung called one day. Summoning Soon to the planet's surface, Soon took a shuttle down to the main research camp. Kyung led her into a forest clearing where his team had set up monitoring equipment. "Watch," he said, pointing to a small plant growing near a tree. As they watched, a flying creature landed on the plant. The plant's flowers opened, releasing what looked like pollen. But instead of drifting on the wind, the pollen seemed to be deliberately collected by the creature. The creature then flew to another plant and deposited the pollen with precise movements. "That is pollination," Soon said. "We have that on Earth." "But look at this," Kyung said, pulling up data on his tablet. "This is not random evolution. The plant and the creature are working together in a sophisticated symbiotic relationship. And it is not just them. We have found dozens of similar partnerships. The entire ecosystem operates like a single organism. Every species depends on others in ways that Earth life never achieved." Agricultural specialist Jae Song had been listening. She stepped forward, her expression troubled. "If we start clearing land for farms, we will disrupt these relationships. We could cause a cascade failure in the local ecosystem." A heated debate erupted in the camp. Some colonists argued that human survival had to come first. They had not traveled across the galaxy to starve while protecting alien bugs and plants. Others insisted that humanity had a moral obligation to minimize harm. Soon called a colony-wide meeting that evening. Every colonist attended, either in person or through video link to the ship in orbit. She stood before them and spoke plainly. "We face a choice that will define what kind of people we are. We can conquer this world, bend it to our needs, and prove that the Galactic Council was right about us, that we are destructive and thoughtless. Or we can show that humans are capable of something better." Dr. Kyung's team has identified areas where the ecosystem is less interconnected. places where human settlement will cause minimal disruption. We can build our colony in these zones. We will set aside 60% of the planet as preservation areas. No human development. No interference. We will study these regions, learn from them, but leave them untouched. That limits our growth, someone objected. What happens when our population expands? Then we will expand carefully, Soon replied. We will work with the native ecosystem, not against it. Agricultural specialist Song believes she can modify our earth crops to coexist with native species. We will farm smarter, not bigger. The vote took hours, but eventually passed by a significant margin. Humanity would share Sabiok with its native life. They would adapt to the planet rather than forcing the planet to adapt to them. The transformation of the New Dawn began immediately. The massive colony ship had been designed to come apart. Its modular sections detached and descended to the planet's surface, where they became the foundation of the first city. The ship's manufacturing facilities became factories. Its hydroponics bays became research centers. Its power core became the city's central energy station. Jae-song worked miracles with the crops. She combined human genetic engineering with careful study of native soil and adapted earth plants to thrive in Sabiok's conditions. Within months, fields of wheat and rice grew alongside native purple grasses, each supporting the other. But then Security Chief Bojang detected something that changed everything. He called Governor Soon to the security center one evening, his face grim. "We are being watched," he said, showing her sensor readings. "These signatures match Council probe technology. Automated scouts. They have been in system for at least 3 weeks." Soon felt ice in her stomach. "Have they contacted us?" "No, just observing. Recording everything we do, transmitting data back to Council space." Bo pulled up more data. "There is more. Similar probes have been detected near other human colonies. The Council is tracking our exodus. They know where we went. They know what we are building. What will they do about it?" Soon wondered aloud. "I do not know, but we should prepare for anything." The news spread quickly through the colony. Fear rippled through the population. Had they escaped the Council only to be followed? Would the aliens come to destroy what they were building? But before panic could take hold, a message arrived. Not from the Council, but from another source entirely. An alien transmission, using frequencies the Council never used. Dr. Kyung Nam worked with the communication team to translate it. When they finally decoded the message, everyone gathered to hear it. A holographic figure appeared, showing an alien unlike any humanity had seen before. Tall and thin, with skin that seemed to shimmer between solid and transparent. Its voice was melodic, almost musical. "We are the Silentines," the alien said. "We greet the humans with friendship and understanding. We know of your exile. We know of your journey. We know because we made a similar journey 300 years ago." The hologram changed, showing images of another world. Cities built by alien hands. Ships traveling between stars. A civilization thriving far from Council space. The Council exiled us for refusing to abandon our art. They said our music was disruptive, that our sculptures violated natural form. They gave us the same choice they gave you. Obey or leave. We chose to leave. Since then, we have watched the Council. We have seen them exile for other species for various crimes of being different. Each of those species now lives free, like us, beyond Council control. And now we have watched humanity. We see your colonies. We see how you treat the native life of Sabiok with respect. We see your innovation, your adaptation, your refusal to be broken by exile. The Silentine leader smiled, or at least made an expression that seemed like a smile. "We wish to meet you, to share knowledge, perhaps to build something together, an alliance of the exiled, a community of species that the Council rejected, but who thrive nonetheless." Governor Soon looked at her people. She saw hope replacing fear. They were not alone. Others had walked this path before them. "Send a reply," she ordered. "Tell them we accept their offer of friendship. Schedule a meeting. It is time humanity learned we are not the only ones the Council underestimated." Over the next months, everything accelerated. News arrived from other colonies. 12 were now established and thriving. 3 more would land within the year. Human population across all colonies had reached 800 million and was growing. The meeting with the Silentines happened on a neutral space station they maintained between their territory and human colonies. Governor soon led the human delegation. What she found amazed her. The Silentines had built a network of exiled species, 4 races, each rejected by the Council for being different, each now thriving in their own way. They shared technology, traded resources, and supported each other. They called themselves the Federation of Independent Worlds. "Join us," the Silentine leader offered. "Not as subjects, not as juniors, as equals. Together, we are stronger than any of us alone." 10 years had passed since the Exile vote. Councillor Vextheris stood in his private chambers aboard the Council station, reviewing reports that made no sense. They could not be accurate. They had to be mistakes. According to the automated probes, humanity had not withered in isolation. They had exploded across the galaxy like a supernova. 127 colonies. 28 billion humans spread across dozens of star systems. Advanced technology that exceeded Council standards. And most troubling of all, they had formed an alliance with 4 other exiled species. "It is impossible," Vextheris muttered, reading the reports again. 10 years. How did they accomplish so much in 10 years? His aide, a younger member of his species, spoke hesitantly. "Perhaps because we were not watching them closely enough. We assumed exile would weaken them. We assumed they would struggle just to survive in their solar system. We never imagined they had been planning to leave regardless of our decision." Vextheris crushed the data tablet in his massive hand. "Call an emergency council session, immediately. All members must attend." Within hours, the council chamber filled again. The same species that had voted to exile humanity now gathered to discuss what that decision had wrought. The atmosphere was tense. Some members looked afraid. Others looked angry. A few looked almost amused. Vextheris displayed the probe data for all to see. Images of human cities on alien worlds, ships traveling faster than light without using council gates. Humans and Silentines working together on joint projects. The Federation of Independent Worlds, growing larger every year. "This is the result of our exile," Vextheris announced. "We sought to contain humanity. Instead, we freed them to become what we always feared, a rapidly expanding, highly innovative species that refuses to follow our rules. And worse, they have inspired others. The exiled races we cast out over the centuries have united. They are building their own civilization beyond our reach." The crystal being that had spoken against humanity 10 years ago chimed in, its voice uncertain now. "But they have not attacked us. They have not entered council space. They seem content to remain in their own territory." "For now," growled the reptilian counselor. "But what happens when they grow stronger? When their population exceeds ours? When their technology surpasses ours? We cannot allow this to continue. I propose we send a military fleet to dismantle their colonies before they become a genuine threat." The chamber erupted in argument. Half the council agreed that humanity posed a danger that must be eliminated. The other half argued that attacking unprovoked would make the council the aggressors. In the midst of the chaos, a new voice spoke. It came from the section of the chamber that had stood empty for 300 years. "The Silentine section will not attack the humans," the Silentine representative said, her form shimmering into the chamber through a holographic projection. "Because if you do, you will be at war not just with humanity, but with the entire Federation of Independent Worlds. 5 species, hundreds of worlds, millions of ships. Are you prepared for that conflict, Councillor Vextheris?" Vextheris stared at the hologram. "You dare threaten this council? We exiled you for your defiance." "Yes, you did," the Silentine agreed. "And like the humans, we thrived because of it. Now we return, not to beg readmission, but to offer you a choice. Recognize the Federation as a sovereign entity. Establish peaceful relations. Or face the consequences of the conflict You will start. Before Vextheris could respond, another voice interrupted. The chamber's main entrance opened, and Ambassador Taeyong Kim walked in, flanked by Captain Hannah Park and a delegation of human and alien representatives from the Federation. Ambassador Kim, Vextheris said coldly, "You were exiled from this chamber. You have no authority to be here." "I am not here as Earth's representative to the Council," Taeyong replied calmly. "I am here as the diplomatic envoy of the Federation of Independent Worlds, and I am here to deliver a proposal that will benefit both our civilizations." He walked to the center of the chamber, the same spot where he had stood 10 years ago to hear humanity's exile pronounced. But this time, he did not stand as a supplicant. He stood as an equal. 10 years ago, you voted to exile humanity. You believed we were too chaotic, too unpredictable, too dangerous to exist within your ordered society. You were right about one thing. We are different from you. We innovate rapidly. We question authority. We refuse to accept arbitrary limits on our growth and development. He activated a holographic display, showing images of human colonies, Federation worlds, the thriving civilizations beyond Council space. But you were wrong about something crucial. You thought those differences made us incompatible with galactic civilization? Instead, those differences have allowed us to build something remarkable. Not a rival to the Council, but an alternative. A different way of organizing galactic society. We do not want your territory. We do not want to destroy what you have built. We simply want to exist freely, to grow in our own way, to develop our own culture and technology without your restrictions. And we want to offer you something you have not had in 10,000 years. A genuine choice. Vextheris leaned forward. What choice? The Federation proposes formal recognition. We establish borders. Council space remains yours. Federation space remains ours. We open trade routes between our territories. We exchange ambassadors. We share scientific knowledge on mutually beneficial projects. We maintain peace through respect for each other's sovereignty, right? And if we refuse, the reptilian counselor demanded. Taeyong's expression remained neutral. Then we continue to exist separately. We will not attack you. But we will also not stop growing. We will continue to expand into unexplored space. We will continue to accept species that your council exiles. And eventually, the Federation will be larger and more powerful than the Council. Not because we sought conflict, but simply because we allowed ourselves to grow without artificial restrictions. You threaten us with peaceful expansion? One counselor scoffed. I offer you relevance, Taeyong corrected. The galaxy is vast. There is room for multiple civilizations, multiple ways of organizing society. The Council can remain as it is, following your ancient rules. But you must accept that not every species wants to live that way. Some of us need freedom to grow, to change, to make mistakes, and learn from them. On Earth, Premier Ji Woo Choi watched the council session through live transmission. She sat in the same office where she had announced the exodus 10 years ago. Elder Suk Bei sat beside her, now ancient but still sharp as ever. Do you think they will accept? Gi Woo asked. Some will, Suk replied. Others will resist. The council has existed unchanged for so long that change itself terrifies them. But they will have to adapt just as we did, because the galaxy is changing whether they accept it or not. Back in the council chamber, the debate raged for hours. Some species saw wisdom in Taeyong's proposal. Others viewed it as surrender to chaos. The vote was called multiple times, each ending in deadlock. Finally, a small voice spoke up. A species that had said nothing during humanity's original exile. They were among the oldest members of the Council, having joined 8,000 years ago. I have lived a long time, the elder being said. I have seen the Council grow from a handful of species to hundreds. And in all that time, we have barely changed. Our technology is the same. Our culture is the same. Our way of thinking is the same. Perhaps that stability has value. But perhaps it also makes us stagnant. The humans and their Federation allies represent something we lost long ago. The willingness to take risks, the courage to try new approaches, the acceptance that failure is part of growth. Yes, they are chaotic. Yes, they are unpredictable. But they are also vital in a way we have not been for millennia. I propose we accept the Federation's offer. Not because we must, but because diversity makes both parties stronger. Let there be two great civilizations in this galaxy. One built on order and tradition. One built on freedom and innovation. Let us see what each can teach the other. The vote was called one final time. It passed by a narrow margin. The Federation of Independent Worlds would be recognized as a sovereign entity. Borders would be established. Trade and diplomatic relations would begin. As the vote concluded, Taeyang felt Captain Hannah Park's hand on his shoulder. "We did it," she whispered. Taeyang corrected. "Now comes the hard part. Building a lasting peace." Admiral Sung Kang, monitoring events from his flagship at the border of Federation space, ordered the fleet to stand down. The thousands of human and Federation ships that had been positioned for potential conflict began returning to their home worlds. On Sabiak, Governor Sunan announced the news to cheering crowds. The Federation was officially recognized. Humanity would never again face exile or isolation. Dr. Yunahan, a director of the Federation's exploration program, looked at maps of the galaxy with new understanding. So much unexplored space still remained. So many worlds to discover. The work was just beginning. Engineer Jin Yoon, who had helped design the colony ships that made everything possible, stood in the New Haven shipyards overseeing construction of the next generation of vessels. These would not be colony ships. These would be explorer ships, designed to push even further into the unknown.